Greetings, brothers and sisters. So the New York Post, which is, it's kind of a rag, and page 6 is their celebrity section. And, it's been sort of a literary joke over the years. I got some other celebrity stuff coming from them. Britney's going scorched earth on her sister. Kanye starting to melt down. And I want to get to this trucker strike thing as well. Just to understand how, I'll cover that in a little bit. But going back to the New York Post and page 6, but it's something I look at now every day. And they are, more of a journalistic entity than mainstream news. I mean, some of it's, right-wing leaning, and, it's owned by Rupert Murdoch, I believe, that is responsible for the debacle that is Fox News. So it isn't something great, and it's not truther, but you're going to find more truth there than in other places. And so it says here, Chinese elite have paid some $31 million to Hunter and the Bidens. And so, there was dealings between Hunter Biden and Joe Biden's brother, Hunter Biden's uncle, and the Chinese, wealthy Chinese businessmen. And some of that money most likely made it into Joe Biden's pocket. But either way, Hunter Biden is buying influence, and this is not cool. Of course, we know what a great artist he is as well, right? Selling art is a way to launder money. And so this guy, a guy who is a crack addict, and he's just made horrible life choices. The father of a stripper baby, and he didn't want to pay child support from a stripper he banged while he was on crack and didn't remember. He impregnated, and a stripper from Arkansas named Dallas. And more money than God, Chinese titan lavish Hunter Biden with 3-carat gem offer of $3 million. And so this is kind of being covered by Fox News. Of course, didn't cover this when it was election time because Fox News was bought out and was, they had turned on Trump's. But it's a very easily to believe story. And other mainstream media outlets, the BBC is covering this, New York Post, of course, the New York Times, and so, and the Daily Mail, and CNN, of course, is saying, no, that didn't happen, right? CNN is fact-checking this stuff because, CNN sucks. Did former Vice President Joe Biden receive $1.5 billion from China? And I guess this is something that Trump said, so they did fact-checking. But they're not looking into whether this crackhead received $30 million from China, right? Here's this guy who is a crackhead. There's the gem that's in question, the diamond. But we know that this guy has made horrible life decisions. Irresponsible. He was irresponsible with a handgun, according to his former girlfriend that was his his brother's widow, his dead brother's widow. And he left his ex-wife for his dead brother's widow, who, was saying that she hid his handgun because she thought he might kill himself, right? And the guy was self-destructive and, all the stuff that goes with being a crackhead. But why he was smoking crack and using drugs, he was in business with the Ukraine and with China, right? He was selling access to his then vice president father who was running for president. And so this guy is shady as F, right? And should be the subject of lots of comic fodder. Like Hunter Biden is just, the fact that that the president has a crackhead son should be talked about all the time on late night comedy and Saturday Night Live. Why hasn't Saturday Night Live had a bit about Joe Biden having a crackhead son, right? It's just what comedians live for. And it's also very newsworthy. And so the fact that they're not covering this and looking into it, and there's actually a federal investigation, during in Biden administration about this guy. And why didn't Trump really push for a federal investigation And why didn't his Justice Department do it? Because they were investigating this guy for lots of different things, but they didn't make it public. And, Bill Barr or Bob Barr, or whatever his name is, who ran Trump's, it was Trump's attorney general, completely hid this stuff from everybody. So this is Hunter Biden, the the artist formerly known as Hunter Biden is, here he is with his dad. And, this is just big news that the mainstream media isn't covering. Kanye West allegedly spreading unfounded rumors Pete Davidson is gay and has AIDS. This is like so Kanye going full Kanye. And then there was this. Kim Kardashian denies Kanye West's claims of a second sex tape. So what this was an earlier story where Kanye said he went to this guy, Ray J. I guess the guy was the guy who filmed the first sex tape and got the second sex tape. And Kim was so grateful. And then both Ray J and Kim said, no, that never happened, right? So they, it's funny that the whole Kardashian empire hinged on the OJ trial and her, sex tape. Kanye West's behavior bringing Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson closer together. Now, it hasn't been, something where, I'm waiting for a big Kanye, just going off. And he's done it on social media before. And so, it's time for Kanye to go full Kanye. And it's Britney going full Britney. Britney Spears called Jamie Lynn Spears scum in scathing IG post. And so this was from Britney Spears. She posted this video.
She should have named this things I should have said to my sister and my sister alone, but instead I've decided to make a book for profit. If you want to clear your name, this is my thing. I'm a super family-oriented person. I love my
She loves her sister.
My sister and I are like this.
Her sister and her are like that.
Loyalty in my family is so important. Loyalty in my sisterhood is so important. If you wanted to clear your name, who is it important to clear your name to? Your sister or the masses of people? Why did you feel the need to clear your name to millions of people who are not your family members, who's not your blood, your DNA?
Because Britney was slamming her on Instagram. Again, of course you wanted to make a little jing, right? Everyone's going to try to make money because it's a greedy, the Spears family, they're greedy, celebrity-oriented people. And Britney is amongst them, like she's no better than the rest of them. Like she went crazy, and her dad swooped in and got the conservatorship. And, their dad is a dadager, right, like a momager. And there's a Disney kid, and Britney lost it. She, shaved her head, and she was going off. Britney's crazy as F. And so there's another thing here. I don't know what it is, another picture.
To play it out there and put family business out there. I will say Will Smith came out with his book, last year. And what was interesting was to see how he brought everyone in that was mentioned in the book and got their approval. Because,
yeah, totally different because Will Smith is hiding something from everybody, which we've covered. And Will Smith is the celebrity, and Britney Spears was destroying Jamie Lynn on Instagram. I, cover this over time. Not that I care, not that this is important, it's just Britneyland. But these people are wrong, these commenters, because Britney went off and was all over Jamie Lynn and sent her family, her fans, sent the Free Britney Army over to Jamie Lynn's Instagram, which is a sucky behavior. And, I cover this, and there's nothing worse than using your celebrity status to send your fans over to attack somebody. Like it's something, it happened to me here from another truther, which was like a bummer, and the dude was wrong on top of it, right? Like I don't do that. I don't send people over to, attack other people. And I discourage that kind of trolling behavior because, it doesn't result in anything positive. And we don't know these people personally. It is whatever it is, right? It's a family matter, and Britney Spears is the one who brought it out in the public. Like she could have went after her parents, but she went after her sister more than anybody else. And she seemed to be jealous of her sister for whatever reason. And so her sister said, all right, she can cash in on some, book money and, whatever it is, right? And, that's the kind of people they're dealing with. Like, it's not some big close-knit family. And then Britney Spears says, national bestseller, 4 question marks, duh. The timing of your book was unbelievable, Jamie Lynn, especially knowing the whole world had no clue what was really done to me, exclamation points. My whole family, including you, is saying you didn't know. BS. But what these women are saying here is pretty clear. I'm just kind of shocked that more people like these real soul sisters aren't telling it like it is. Congrats, bestseller. I'm not surprised at all. The nerve of you to sell a book now and talk S, but you're effing lying, just like you lied about Alexa Nicholas, I guess. I wish you would take a lie detector test so all the masses of people, these masses of people see you're lying through your teeth about me. Wish the Almighty Lord could come down and show the whole world that you're lying and making money off of me. You are scum, Jamie Lynn. And then this person, Boommiser, checkmark with a check mark, speak. Best post, don't delete. Hell yes, speak your truth, B. It's the only one we care about. The book should have been titled Things I Should Have Kept to Myself, because it seems like there are a lot of lies spread about various people. Big disturbance in Britneyland. She posted that one there. There's her in her bikini and hitting the gym, laying out, and talking to plants.
Do you like fruit? The fruit is insane.
Wow. Oh my god. This one is like unbelievable. I want to eat it. It looks kind of like, what is it called? The
All right. We've all known Britney's been crazy for a while, right? Disney kid went crazy. We don't know about her sister in terms of like how much she suffered, and neither one of them are rocket scientists, right? Is it like the Spears clan is gonna, be invited to Mensa anytime soon? And she just got out of conservatorship, and then all she's been doing is going after people. She seems to have some sort of jealousy with her sister, some sibling rivalry, and feel like her sister was treated better than she was. Here she is doing her spinning thing. There you go. There she goes. Spin around 1. It's 1, no 5, no 2, no, just do this. 2, no 2, 4, between my legs 3, 5, 7, what's the number? 2, 1, 3, 7, L. Some kind of code she's transmitting. Spin around again. Fly like a little bird. 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 And do ballerina and things. I have big smile. A smile on my face. Doing my little dance. Yeah, I'm just going to fix my shorts here for a second. They're riding up on me. Okay, smiling back again. My hair. Doing a little smile. Doing a little dance. Spin around. Spin around again. I like to spin. Spinning's fun. Really enjoy spinning. Spin around again. Swirl my hair. Do that again. Yeah, I'm smiling. Look how happy I am. I'm smiling. Fixing my shorts again. They're bothering me. Oh, look at my sexy dance. I'm doing my sexy dance and a smile. And my smile, my sexy dance. And then back to spinning again. And then number 1. Number 5. Back to this again. Anyways, trouble in Britneyland. I don't know if you just heard my rooster. I just turned on the mic and the rooster came up. I don't know if the rooster somehow plugged into these videos. There it is again. So this is CNN's answer to Dr. Zeus, right? This guy.
It sounds like, I know you are, but what am I? What's next? I'm rubber and you're glue? Nana boo-boo? It's not if you do a coup, good for you. World goes from let's go Brandon to oh no Bannon.
Whatever his name is, Costa, whatever. It's Jim Acosta something. And this is Gretchen Carlson, formerly of Fox News, and their resident dope, who was actually magna cum laude. Well, let's get into it here, and I'll show you a clip from The Daily Show, mocking her, faking to be dumb, right?
Between Ukraine and Russia escalate. Let's listen to Tucker Carlson.
But why would we take Ukraine's side and not Russia's side? It's a sincere question. If you're looking from the American perspective, no, but why? I mean, who's got the energy reserves? Who's the major player in world affairs? Who's the potential counterbalance against China, which is the actual threat? Why would we take Ukraine's side? Why would?
One thing that Tucker Carlson, again, he's not a truther, but he's closer to being a truther than the majority of, these other CNN and MSNBC and Fox shills. But one point that he's making here that could be, considered a valid point is that if this was a European country and they were having a problem with one of their, like if the British Empire was having a problem with one of their colonies, right? There's the British Empire, there's what's now considered the British Commonwealth, and all these countries still recognize the Queen as a sovereign leader. And if one of these countries was going against the British Commonwealth, America would back Britain, right? Even though morally it would be the right thing to do to back the country, the colonized country. And so in that sense, he has a valid point here, right?
Guess him for democracy in other countries, I guess.
And Gretchen, an Axios report highlights how House Republicans are parroting Tucker Carlson's pro-Russian stance. Why do you think Tucker does this? And why do the Murdochs allow it? Do they not even care, or is it just about money and ratings, do you think?
Ratings, I think, first and foremost, but this is the result of fake news.
This is the result of fake news, parroting the left-leaning media. They're creating some sort of bill about sexual harassment because she, won a major lawsuit because she taped Rupert Murdoch when she was a Fox News shill. She was one of the worst people on Fox News. Fox News sucks. It's always sucked. But she played really stupid, right? She was, she was very dumbed down. And it turned out she's actually smart, at least in terms of her education. There was this hit piece that Jon Stewart did on her years ago.
Double dip recession. Now, if you're like me, I was like, what exactly does that mean? So here is what it is.
See, look at the way she presented herself. She was constantly backing all of Fox News BS stuff there, right? And acting really dippy. But it turns out
she was valedictorian of her high school and went to Stanford and graduated with honors and spent time studying abroad at Oxford. Yeah.
So Gretchen Carlson was somebody who did well academically, but she acted like a dope. And then, she came out against the abuse of women, the mistreatment of women, the objectification of women. She was a classically trained violinist, right? And then Fox News, these morning anchors and Geraldo played football with women in lingerie, right? And here it is.
Brian, and there he's going down. Brian's going down.
So here's Gretchen Carlson come running in. And she high-fives all these women in lingerie, right? Just the kind of thing that she's against now, right? The sexual exploitation of women. But she went along with it all along at Fox News until she sued Fox News. She pitched all their crappy news and all their shill stuff, right? And then, she's changed her tune.
First and foremost, but this is the result of fake news. We're seeing not only the fallout from fake news during the Trump era, but
so when she was on Fox, she would have went along with Trump, right? If back in her heyday at Fox, she would have shilled for him and all these things. She would have pandered to her audience. And now she's pandering to a different audience the way this dude is, right? This corpse is, right? This ghoul. And I mean, she just absolute sellout and horrible human being, right?
And now it's into Cold War politics. I mean, the idea that we were talking about whether or not we should support Ukraine or Russia, there wouldn't be a Republican on the planet that 5 years ago would have said that they would have supported Russia over Ukraine.
Yeah, because Republicans used to be in charge of war, and now it's the Democrats. Republicans were the big war hawks years ago, back when you supported Darth Cheney, right? When she supported George W. Bush in those illegal wars that went on under the Bush-Cheney administration, the Cheney-Bush administration, these neocons that they slathered all over on Fox News to promote these things. And she's, these people, no matter what they say or which side they're on, they're proven liars and shills, right?
But this is where we are now. Conservative television news is certainly not the conservative news that was out there even just 5 years ago.
Come on. It sucked way back when. It sucked even worse then. And it still sucks, right? Because it's not truth. None of you guys tell the truth.
Yeah, it's stunning. And since the insurrection, you mentioned that, we've learned that some big names over at Fox were acting almost as advisors to Trump, like Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham. And then their text came out where, it sort of suggests that they knew that there was a problem inside the Trump White House, and that problem being the president at the time. You worked at Fox. Does this surprise you that Fox anchors would be advising a president, advising a White House?
Not necessarily. I'm not sure that it doesn't happen on the other side as well, depending on who.
Of course it does. I mean, CNN and MSNBC get their talking points from the Democratic Party and the Biden administration and the national security agencies, the spy agencies, CIA and FBI and NSA, right? Come on. Like, you don't know that, Gretchen? Let's move ahead here.
No. And, I think that this is very upsetting to Republicans also, to be quite honest. I mean, I wish more of them would have the courage to do what I did, quite honestly, and come forward and take on a behemoth. But
yeah, but before that, you acted exactly like they wanted you to act, and you did exactly what they wanted you to do, and you shilled for all this stuff, all these things that she did. And then she sued him, and now she's an entirely different person. You were a fake. You pretended to be stupid when you weren't. You pretended to be ditzy. You pretended to be like the Fox News audience, right, in the stupid morning show. And now you've become something else, right? And now you're shilling for CNN and MSNBC as you're trying to reinvent yourself. But they're never going to accept you because they're about cancel culture, and there's too many skeletons in your past that can be dragged out. And it's all about look at me stuff, right? This is celebrity look at me stuff.
Listen, for the safety of the Republican Party and for our democracy, I wish more would, because this is not going to end well in my mind.
It's not going to end well. It's not. The fake news and all of it. It's not going to end well. Right from the ghoul's mouth. So before I get into the debt-based system and the U.S. national debt and these things, and I've already done these parts. I've done the voiceover at the end that you're about to hear, but I meant to include this in the video about, the Alex Jones model that has been celebrated, the far right-wing model of the truth community about revolution and a war of information, right? InfoWars, and how it's failed. And look at this guy, Chris Hayes, who's, a tool, who is about to be able to laugh and mock Alex Jones because Alex Jones got deposed in this probe, right? He got probed. Alex got probed.
Alex probed me.
And so he ended up pleading the fifth and when he was deposed, when he was interviewed 100 times, which means he didn't want to answer because he would incriminate himself, right? And this had to do with these guys, the Oath Keepers, who are Alex Jones' friends, and watch how he throws them under the bus here as he talks about them.
I saw it all as LARPing. I mean, I didn't see the Oath Keepers as bad people.
So he's saying the Oath Keepers were just LARPing, right? This has been his defense numerous times.
But I saw a lot of it as playing soldier in the backyard. Their mission was
playing soldier. He's talking about them like they're LARPers or playing soldier in the backyard. I mean, listen to this guy, right? And he's done this himself, like when he was in another lawsuit or something, either to do with his wife or with his ex-wife, or his the lawsuit with that other group of people. And he said that he's playing a character, that he's an actor and he's a personality, he's playing a character on this show. But the people watching that think he's a patriot and a hero and think that about the Oath Keepers. Now he's saying that they're all actors, playing actors, right? He's already admitted, I showed you that other video, where he admitted that his family comes from the Illuminati and the Rosicrucians. I mean, he's done this a numerous times. He still has a large bunch of dopes that go and watch his show and buy his crappy products, and he made $160 million gross in 3 years, right? I mean, he's, raking in the bucks, but he's admitting that he's an actor and a play actor.
Something I really agreed with for most of its operations, but if the indictment's true that they thought that they could foment and kickstart and detonate a rebellion at the Capitol that would then lead to a larger war, that is not something I knew about or something I support or something I want.
Look at this COINTELPRO shill, right? Because he is, his motto, his tagline was, "You are the revolution." He's been pushing revolution and violence and violent overthrow of the government, and his rhetoric and his demonic rants, all this stuff, right? Provocative and, manipulative. And then he comes out and he completely goes against these things when push comes to shove, right? And then he is providing the profile, and, watch what Chris Hayes gets to do, because Alex Jones just completely reversed himself from what he presents, when he's acting on his show, right?
Oh, my goodness. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Your Honor.
This guy gets to do this because Alex Jones just said that he's a fraud and the movement's a fraud, the truth movement.
I don't know. They were dressing up. We were palling around. I got an internet show. I got nootropics to sell. I don't know what's going on.
And so, this is the outcome. I've talked about this before. So I want to be clear here, and I've talked about this in the past, that revolution is not an option. And I'm going to discuss this on an economic level. I've already done what you're about to see. This is like a prequel to what I'm going to talk about in terms of the economy. But economically, the system's insolvent. I've said this over and over again. All these people, right-wing people, think that there's going to be some sort of revolution and people like them will be put into power. Those people will have the same unsolvable problems economically as the people running the system now. The system cannot be saved. And if you look at revolution and regime change all around the world, I'm talking about two different things. When there's an organic revolution within the populace, people rise up because they're being mistreated, or you have an imposed regime change, like the United States just did regime change in Libya, in Iraq, and Afghanistan, right? 3 countries because of these bogus wars, and those countries are all worse off now than they were before, right? And people who thought they were going to have a better life in Afghanistan, who sided with the Americans, are now either dead or whatever, right? It's a tragedy there. And Libya is a nightmare, and Iraq is a nightmare. And then you look at Iran, that, America went in and did a regime change there. They took out Mossadegh, they put in the Shah, and it got worse. The people rebelled, and then it got even worse now under this theocracy, right? So when there's a revolution or a government is taken down in any form, whether an opposing army, an opposing government takes down your government, or whether there's a revolution, things get worse for a long time. It sucks. No matter how bad it sucks now with the government you have now, it would be worse if there was a revolution. Just like, etch that in stone. It's not an option, right? When you're looking at possible solutions, you got to just look at how those solutions have played out before, and they never work, and they wouldn't work here because we're broke, and I'm going to go through that now, right? And so all you Alex Jones wannabes, like all these people who are in the truth community, all the QBs and the far-right people, you got to understand that revolution's not an option. It backfires. It's already backfired once recently, this thing with Alex Jones. this recent, Trump thing, and it'll backfire again, and you'll be blamed for it, right? You're going to be blamed for whatever they can pin on you in terms of things that they need to implement, whether it's martial law or whether it be food shortages. It's going to be the same thing with this trucker thing. I'm going to get into that in just a bit, right? And just understand this, it's a pattern of behavior. The controllers provoke a reaction. I mean, it's gone on for centuries. The people who control the system provoke a reaction, and they use your reaction and demonize you as a group. I mean, they did this to Jesus even, right? You understand this? Like, it's been done over and over again, and they blame you for whatever happens. They blame, the people who are trying to change things for what they want to implement, whether it be like food shortages, whether it be a martial law situation, whatever kind of restrictions they want to implement. They get you to act up, they get the people to act up, and then they blame the people, the revolutionaries, for whatever their rules, new rules, and bad rules that they're going to impose, right? And they turn the people against you. It's happening now. It'll happen in the future. Just stop feeding into it, because the system can't be saved, right? I have a spiritual solution. I talk about that later, which I always talk about. There's a spiritual solution, and then there's just riding this thing out for as long as it stays above water. Like, that's, those are the two things we can do right now. All right, let's get into the economy here. So I want to talk about the so-called trucker strike. Somebody left a comment on it, and, I know they did this thing in Australia. And what it's going to end up being is blaming the right wing and the truthers for the shortages coming. And let me explain this thing first. So this is our gross national product, right? $21 trillion, almost $22 trillion, right? And this is our yearly, what the IRS accumulates in terms of tax revenue. So this is our budget as a country, a federal government budget of $3.71 trillion, right? This is the federal government's yearly income. And so this is the U.S. debt clock. And before, the last time I looked at it, we were at 28, and we're now at 29, and it's about to go to 30. So it's been $2 trillion since maybe 2 months since I've looked at this, right? So in 2 months, it's been like $1 trillion a month. This is going up, right? And here's our U.S. tax revenue, which is actually up, right? It's up to $4 trillion, which is great, because last year it was only 3, but still it's not nearly enough to pay down a budget. And this thing is going a lot faster than this thing, right? And so this is going to grow bigger, and this isn't going to, this is going to top off at some point. And because the government is now taxing at a higher rate, a lot of businesses and a lot of disposable income is going to move elsewhere. And so this is going to go down. This is the amount of tax revenue every year. So I did this before. For every minute of time, there is about $2 to $2.5 trillion of debt accumulated, $1 million accumulated. $2 million a minute, basically, $2.5 million a minute of debt being accumulated, which is, think about that, right? And so when our gross national product, this isn't net, right? This isn't our net national product. And China is now higher than ours. China's at $23 trillion. So China has a bigger and better economy than America right now. And that's in 2019. And so that's significant. And again, with $3.7 trillion of tax revenue, which is going to be $4 trillion, how are you ever going to pay this off? When this is accumulating quicker than this, when you're going deeper in debt faster than you're bringing in money, and all this money is already spent, right? Just in the national budget alone, this is $1.2 trillion for Medicare. Social Security is $1.1 trillion, and the defense war budget is $720 billion, but it always ends up being $1.6 trillion, $1.7 trillion each year. And this is 60% of this right here, of this these federal taxes, right? And so there's not enough money just to even pay this right here. And then there's the interest on the debt. which is almost up to $500 million for this year alone, right? So I don't know when this started, when the fiscal year starts, I guess on April 15th. But up to now, it's close to $500 billion, right? So it's almost $500 billion, which is 1/4 of the IRS's, the government's income of $4 trillion, not 1/4, 1/8. And so just the interest alone on this debt is 1/8 of the income. So imagine if you made, I don't know, $80,000 a year, right? And so 1/8 is $10,000 of your income would go just to your interest on your loans. And again, you're $80,000 a year, and then they take taxes and all these things out of it, right? And your $80,000 doesn't meet your budgetary needs. You can't even live on $80,000. Let's say that's your situation. And, the interest that's compiling on your massive debt is 1/8 of your income every year. That's the situation our country's in. And so, it's completely effed that this is not nearly enough money to pay any of this stuff, just to pay our budget. We're always over budget, right? We always spend more money than we have. And then you look at the national U.S. debt, and it's $86 trillion. So this is the U.S. federal spending. So this is the U.S. national debt, but the U.S. total debt is at $86 trillion, right? And then you have all these personal debt. I mean, this is what people owe and corporations owe and all of this. Credit card debt is at $1 trillion, right? That's 1/4 of our complete total income. But then you go down here and you see that these are unfunded liabilities, right? And what that means is they're not part of our budget, right? like how effed up is that? And you have Social Security topping off at $21 trillion. That's how much the government owes to future elderly Americans, right? That's the amount of money that the government is going to have to pay out in Social Security. And then Medicaid, what Medicaid is going to cost is at $33 trillion. And then total, it's $164 trillion. How are you going to pay that with you're making $4 trillion and you're spending all of that? There's just no way, right? And then this is the big number here. This goes up and down. But the currency and credit derivatives now market is at $611 trillion. And so this is almost $2 quadrillion in credit default swaps and derivatives, right? And so this is like, how are you ever going to pay this off? In terms of total currency that's available of dollars, it's $1.2 trillion of U.S. currency in circulation. There's not enough money. Like, there's only $1.2 trillion, and you have $30 trillion in just national debt. And then all the rest of this debt here, right? There's all this stuff, the red stuff is debt. Everything here is debt, right? In one form or another. And it's all over the place. And there's not enough money out there to even pay a fraction of this. If we took all of the cash that's available, all of the U.S. currency that's available, and we put it on this debt, it would only pay 1/30th of the debt, right? And then the currency would be gone, right? Like if everybody coughed up their currency. Of course, there's digital currency, but even that, right? So there's no way to ever pay this off, and it's important to understand because our economy is in complete free fall. We are insolvent. So I said this before. I wouldn't want any of these leadership positions because you can't solve the problem, right? If you were the president or you were in charge of the Fed or you were in charge of some, New World Order, whatever it is, you're part of the ruling families, whatever leadership positions that are out there, you're working with problems that can't be solved on a corporate level, on a banking level, on an economic level, on a global citizenry level, and a local, a U.S. citizenry level. You can't solve the problems because there's so much debt that we can never pay it off. That's why they have to reset the economy, because this is what happens at the end of a usury system, a debt-based economy, a system that allows for debt and credit and people to be loaned money and given value before they've done the work, right? Where you can borrow money based on your promise to pay, and the government can print out money based on their promise to pay, we have what's now called a fiat currency that's not backed by anything. It's just backed by a governmental promise, a promissory note, which I've covered over and over again, right? I mean, most people understand this. And at the end of that kind of economy, you get so much debt that you could never pay it off. There's not enough value on the planet to cover $2 quadrillion worth of debt, right? A trillion is 1,000 billion, right? Like, think about how much a billion is. A billion's 1,000 million. A trillion's 1,000 billion. And a quadrillion is 1,000 trillion. And you can't even conceive of those numbers. And worldwide, there's about $2 to $3 quadrillion worth of debt. And the total value of the earth and all the economies on the planet isn't even 1 quadrillion, right? It isn't, it is probably about maybe 500 trillion, whatever it is, right? Like, all the land in the world isn't worth that. Like, I did this, I did this in another video, and I figured out what all the land in the world was worth collectively. I mean, it's just up there. I searched it, and it's $228 trillion, right? Based in what land prices are going up because of the inflation, but it's only worth $228 trillion. And we have, alone in the United States, we have $1 quadrillion worth of debt, right? Globally, it's probably $2 or $3 quadrillion. So we can never pay that off, and we can't even pretend to pay it off. And the idea of the economic system is you want the economy to always be growing because you can make it look like we can someday catch up to the rabbit, like when greyhounds are racing around the track and they're chasing the mechanical rabbit, but they're never going to catch it. But at least if they're close enough, we can say, oh, we're not insolvent. Like, we might be able to catch up with the debt. And the crazy thing is, if we did pay off all the debt, we would be broke because our wealth is debt. And so if you got rid of all the debt, we would lose all our ability to spend money. And so, our money isn't our money. Our debt is our money, our ability to manufacture money out of thin air. And so maybe you understand this and maybe you don't. But our economy is like ass backwards. It's completely effed. And they all know it. Like, they have to reset it. They have no other choice. And so whether you hate the controllers, whether you blame them, whether, whatever you want to blame, that's the situation we're in. And the people who run the world understand this, so they can't give you things. They can't fulfill their promises to you. In America, they can't fulfill their promise of Social Security. Our Social Security is gone. There's going to be no Social Security for our generations, right? This is the last generation to get Social Security checks. That's going to disappear soon. Free health care, all the things that they've promised, and our lifestyle as well. And so when you protest, they don't care, right? What do you think is going to happen when these truckers, these truck drivers go on strike? Do you think the government, the people who control the world, are going to go, oh, wow, you guys are mad at us. Okay, we'll admit we're wrong about everything, and we'll change our rules, and we'll open everything back up because we don't want you guys closing down the economy by not delivering goods and services because, we're scared of you and, whatever. We can do that. We were just waiting for you guys to call our bluff. No, of course not. They're not going to do that, right? What do you think the outcome is going to be? What they're going to do is have more shortages. They want shortages. They just don't want to be responsible for them. And they're going to blame the truther and right-wing truckers, who went out and went on strike, right? And so when you don't have toilet paper in your Costco or whatever it is, in Canada, they did the same thing in Australia, they're going to blame these guys. And when people are pissed off, they're going to be mad at them, right? And they're just going to, substitute them with robot drivers or whatever it is, right? They can get rid of all the, they're pretty close to having automated like trucks and cars and things like this that drive themselves. We already have that technology. They just have to roll it out. And so, the reality is, don't feed into it. Just like the end of the Trump presidency, that big event, how'd that go, right? Did that backfire on the Trumpers and the truthers? So stop doing things that they can use against you. Stop reacting to their agenda because the system can't be saved. I say this over and over again. It is a defunct demonic system that is in its, last throes. And they're trying to save it, some part of it. our lifestyle is gone. It just hasn't hit us yet. And they want to blame it on somebody, and they're blaming it on, truthers and people who don't want to get the you-know-what and all those things, right? And they're blaming it on, you see who they're blaming. And everything that you do to act out, or every time you try to do something to protest or, change something, they're going to just use it against you and blame us collectively. And so there's nothing you can do. There's something you can do, which is connect to God and become a better person yourself, which I talk about all the time, and help manifest a better world and a better system by raising your vibrational level and, connecting to God in a deep internal way, not in a religious way, because religions act as a middleman between you and God, but in an internal way, like the Heartfulness system is a system that facilitates this connection. All of us have God in us, all of us have a soul, and rise up to a higher level of being. And the more people that do that, the system will change and accommodate and be manifested from a higher place. And that's the one way to solve this problem. Most people don't want to hear that. Most people want to, have the other people change. They're expecting the people who are at the top of the pyramid, who are the most psychologically messed up and are the most, corrupt in their character and their disposition. And they're expecting these rigid people who are locked into a generationally dysfunctional system of power and wealth. And they're the people have the least ability to change. They can either change themselves or change the system. And so why are you expecting them to change? You can change yourself. Stop demanding other people change and the system change. The system's effed, and we have to ride it out as long as we can, right? The longer it stays, the more we can prepare for what's next. And that's, all that we can do. Only spirituality will save this world. As Paul Romano definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.